So Louis Stettner, tell us a bit about your show in the BNF in Paris.
Well, I was there last week. What struck me is people would come up to me and say, look, I'm so happy to meet you here by accident. I love your work for years now, and it means so much to me. So therefore, I feel now I want to speak to those people who have always appreciated my work, and so they can get to meet me also through the camera.
Photographies of Louis Stettner are more famous than Louis Stettner himself.
Well, I think that's part of the culture of the present day world we live in, where the product becomes more important than the person who did it. And look, I photograph the world around me according to my own personal vision. And what people see in photographs is how I feel. And I think it's important to know that it comes from a person, and it's a person-to-person relationship, whoever who looks at it. I feel I do it because I think that people through my work can have a more profound understanding of life, and to get more of the joy, the love, the pleasure that is in life.
This joy is is a vivid component, I think, of your work.
Well, I think joy is part of life. I think, it's a many-faceted thing. With joy, you by appreciating something, it does give you a certain amount of joy. But people, the way they move, they act, or the way they act toward you, or what they do, the sources are many, but it all comes from the world around us.
You often say that many photographers are more clever than creative. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, I think the general tendency today is that people, things they would used to expect of art, like something profound and meaningful, something that's spiritually enriching, it's not so much sought after as more in the nature of entertainment is what they expect from art. And I myself don't approach it that way. I'm not doing it, to entertain people.
This
is not my purpose.
And do you think there's a political reason for that, or is it political also, the fact that you don't want to entertain, that you want people to see the world through your photographies, the world as it is?
Well, I think more and more institutions around us, the individual is less and less, becomes less and less important. They're more interested for people to fit into an institution, part of a whole. And actually, what my work is about is all one individual to another individual who's looking at the photograph. As I said, before, a pair of shoes you buy in the store, you don't know who did it, but at least when you look at my photograph, you know who's responsible for it.
What is, according to you, what is a good photography? When do you think that it's a good one?
Well, it's very hard to say. It's time proves the value of things. And, a photograph, a painting, or even a person, or something built, a house, or an institution, or a way people live. Time proves what's valid. All we can do is do our best and see what happens with time. If a photograph goes on becoming more and more exciting, more and more meaningful with time, it's that it has an importance, that photograph. Only time can decide. We cannot decide just instantly.
But would you say that, for instance, a good photography brings a specific atmosphere, a specific ambiance, more than a formal design or aesthetic design?
Well, I don't aestheticism, of course, it has a certain value it reveals. values, but I don't think that should be the whole point of a photograph or a painting or a piece of music, just to dwell on the aesthetics of it. I think it's, in fact, I think the word is fairly recently invented. The word didn't exist in the 17th or 16th century, aesthetics. I think it's looking at things one-dimensionally, just to look at the aesthetic importance of it.
Yeah. So for instance, we could say that a good photography is a photography that is real in a way, that it brings the world itself and not so much construction, an artificial construction.
Well, a good photograph is something that becomes more than a photograph. When it has meaning and value that extends beyond the medium. If it's just a photograph, then it remains very limited. But what the values and the spiritual content enters into it says, reveals something about life itself, then the vehicle becomes relatively unimportant. The whole, really, something really, a significant painting is more than a painting. A piece of music, what someone says, or even the act of a person can be very significant. It can be a work of art.
You still have this desire to work and to be creative?
It's a hard question to answer. I suppose it's like infinite. Life itself, we're looking up into the sky. It's infinite. I'm still excited by the possibilities of what I can achieve and discover around me. It's always a challenge. It's something that gives me great pleasure and meaning to find something meaningful that did not exist before. But what's interesting, in fact, why I think people relate to photographs, because a significant photograph comes up with something totally original. It's not based like on a piece of music or painting. It has to be an extension, really, of what's been done before in painting or music.
By something new in
the but the originality is based on things coming to perhaps photography uses chance more than the other mediums, and therefore something totally, I don't like to use the word new, but something totally significant that does not relate to anything else. Perhaps it can produce something unique that did not exist before, that explains more and makes us appreciate more the world around us.
Yeah, there is a unique touch in your work.
It has significance.
And you also often say that this photography is very powerful. So would you? It's the same idea. It has to be.
Let me give. Since I know it so well, and people comment and take the promenade, for instance.
Yeah.
The whole thing embedded in that photograph is how the individual, how each one of us relates to industrial life, to the world around us, the joys and the suffering. It comes out in the way he's lying on the bench. Somehow that rings a bell with us. We understand each other more, where we are in life, and we appreciate life all the more. That's the importance, really, of a work of art, that we have a deeper appreciation of what's around us and ourselves. That's the most important. We understand ourselves better in our place in this world around us.
You've been very close to so many photographers, such as Bouba, Brassailles, Lisette Model, so many people, amazing. The major names of photography of the 20th century have been very close to you, and you were part of those collection, of course.
Well, that's very important. It's the comradeship, really. We know in the 60s, photography was not taught in universities. The museums did not show it. And it was the comradeship of photographers who had the same approach and viewpoint, and were trying to do something meaningful in photography since the world was, we knew each other better, and this comradeship that really, in other words, we were working in a sense for each other, where the approval of the other photographer was more important than an institution or fitting into a current mode. It was, of course, it was a disadvantage. There was no support or economic how to do it or to reach a public, but it had its compensations. That there was, you were working just as I suppose painters in the early 20th century did, who worked for each other. What your fellow painter or photographer thought about it was more important than what a critic thought about it.
We often refer, think about your work as humanist. You are among the humanist photographers. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that term, it has a very limited value. If you want to describe a certain period, fine. But the term is meaningless in the sense, oh, by the way, if it's used just to categorize you so people don't look further at the work, then I think it's negative. And it's the only term in art styles, Cubism, Impressionism, Mannerist, refers to the visual way they visually organize it. Humanist is the first term that refers to the subject matter itself exclusively. Rembrandt was a humanist. And it's almost, the term has a lot of negative inflammations that we're perhaps mawkishly, maudely concerned about people. And that's not true at all.
It's a way to say that your work expresses a sympathy to the people.
More concerned about people, or maybe it says just as much about the art today, that it's not at all interested in human beings, their fellow human beings. It could be that it has negative implications on art being done today because what's absent from it, because it's the only art style term I've ever I can refer to that we can say a painter who is not an impressionist. So if we say someone is not a humanist, then their work is inhuman. It doesn't make sense.
No.
You see what I mean? I don't know really if it's a complete valid term to use in art.
There have been many shows of your work throughout the world those last decades. But now, for instance, now in the BNF, what would you say to the people who come and visit the exhibition?
Well, I would say that it's very meaningful to me that people, when I meet someone or I know that people get a lot out of my work. And it's a deep source of encouragement and satisfaction and to meet these people and to know that my work is very meaningful for them, because really that's the deep inner purpose why I do it, is to bring things to other people. And if I can do it, it's hard for me to express how much it means to me that they are understand and appreciate my work.